Hey YouTube, welcome to episode 17 of the front end loader build. We're on the home stretch now. I'm just putting together the bucket side of the quick attach fitting. Now it's not necessarily just for a bucket. If you're using forks on the front end loader or a hay spike, you'll need a pair of these to fit them onto the quick attach fittings on the arms. But let's get on and get them done and I'll show you how they work then. Alright, I'm just cutting out these pieces for the bucket side of the quick attach. Much better pulling it towards me. Didn't think that last cut through real well. That'll do, and from there I can grind them. The next phase of doing the quick attach parts that fit onto the bucket, I need to weld these together to make this wide enough. So I need to grind this. The material's thicker than the plans specify. It's what I had, so it's what I'm going to use. But I do need to grind it so that I can weld it. I'm going to put a double bevel in from each side, about 30 to 45 degree bevel, and then I'll weld that into the L shapes that I need. Because this metal's so thick that I'm joining, I did a bevel in from both sides. I left about a 2mm or 5/64 of an inch root face on it, and beveled it at about 45 degrees, so I get a good weld in there and tie it together. Oh, right, safety gear off. Might make sense to wear it, but it's not comfortable. I've got to weld them together like that. Gonna leave a little bit of a root gap in it. Root face I've left is probably in the order of about 1mm, which is probably about 3/64 of an inch. 1.6mm is a 16th, so roughly 2/3 of a 16th, whatever that works out to be. Thing to do now is to set this up and clamp down there. I'm going to put a tack on each end, turn him over, tack both ends to the other side, and I'm going to leave roughly about a 1/16 of an inch root gap on him. Anything just to make sure that we're lined up and level down the bottom. Got my 1/16 of an inch gap in there, and just get a clamp on that to hold him in place. Now, I'm going to use some 70-24 rods on these. I'd normally use 70-18, but I have some 70-24s left over. This is an ideal weld position to use them in, and I don't have anything else that I'm likely to use them in, so I'm going to start using them up on the flat wells. No better reason than that. You could use 70-18, you could probably even use 60-13 if that's all you had, although it's not what I'd use for this. Now these are a fairly hot rod. I'm running them at the low end of their amperage range, 140 amps. I must say I'm thinking that I should have probably left a bit more root face on this now that I've had a look at the amperage, or maybe I should run the 70-18s, but we'll see how we go. That seems to be a decent weld. One on this end. Alright, that keyholed beautifully and came right through onto this backside. I actually don't know that I need to tack this backside. I'm just going to go ahead and weld it. And through nicely. Really nice bead. Nice penetration through to that backside. You've got a tack on each end of this side, of course. And do the 70-24 rods used flat, do run a really nice bead. So, a few more passes over him, fill him up both sides, and he is done. Oh, look at that flux come off. Ah, there it goes. Beautiful, beautiful. The other one's just more of the same, so I'll do it off camera. And that's the finished article there. I think you can see those welds. I put 2 passes over the top to finish the cap, and I'll just give them a slight hit with the grinder, take them down. This one's a little bit more sticking up than the other one. I went a little tiny bit too slow on that cap. Good grind will fix them both up, no problem. I lost the sound about here, but as you can see I used a piece of scrap angle iron which allowed me to hold them at 90 degrees while I got hacks on each side, and then I went and checked it, made sure it was still at 90 degrees after I'd hacked it, gave a couple of bangs with a hammer as appropriate, and then proceeded to weld the beads together permanently. Just make sure you get the weld on the right side with the D-section, because one side goes against the bucket and the other side goes against the round iron, and the side that goes against the round bar it has room to put a weld on. I took these off camera and I drilled the holes where I'm going to weld pins into. I've also got a felt pen mark around where I'm going to cut a rough radius with the plasma cutter, and then I'll get the grinder on to smooth it off a little bit. Done a fair bit of this off camera. I didn't actually intend to, but that's sort of the way it turned out. I don't know if it was a finger failure or what, but the camera didn't record some of what I had intended to record. So anyway, what I've done is I've welded up the top on both of these after I ground them down to be even. Then I've cut a couple of lightning holes in here. They're not very neat, I just did them with the plasma, but I'm going to put a weld down the inside of it, so I think they'll be fine. I've done a rough radius around here, a bit rougher than I intended, but it'll work. Cut the hole with the annular cutter through here for this rod. Now this rod is both pieces. I've beveled off the ends, so I'm going to cut it in the middle somewhere, and that will fit through there. Hole drill through there for a pin to hold it in. Gets all welded in, and that's it. I've got to weld the angle down here because we're not bending this as the plans show. I'm going to weld an angle down here to act as the hook. So that's probably the next thing to do. I'll cut this angle and weld it in, and then last of all I'll weld this in, and then they're ready to put onto the bucket, which will pretty much finish the bucket except for painting. Okay, I've got this tag here, and this is the same size as the piece on the tractor side of the front end loader that we want to put up in there. So I'm going to tack this and leave a bit of a root gap there. I'm just going to try and put a tack on him, and I'll go and tack the other side, and then I'll run some weld down in there. Now I'm going to weld him with 70-24, but I've got some light 60-13 2.5 mils, about 3/32 of an inch, just to do the tacks on the end. Now this is just sitting here just to make sure that we don't get it too tight. Want a nice snug fit. Oops, to daisy, just as well I got steel caps on. While I've got the light 60-13 rod in, I'll just prep this other one as well and get him tacked on. See if I can give you a look at this. I've left about 1 millimetre of root gap in there. I've got a really nice fit up in that, and I'll shape this and cut him off wherever I want him after I've got this all welded together. I'll just do that on the plasma and grind him smooth. So now, the question is, how am I going to weld that one? I'm going to try and get in there with a bit of amperage and 70-24, crank it up to about 150 amps or so. See if I can lay some weld down in that gap. I think that was good. I'll have to chip him off and do another couple of runs over him, because I want him nice and solid, as if he was a solid piece that I'd bent. Because this will have a fair bit of load on him, I guess, intermittently, because it is holding the bucket in place. (70-24) certainly lays down a nice speed. Very pretty. That's the finished one. Good fit anyway. That was not too bad. He's maybe just pulled in a tad on this one side. I think I can ease it with a grinder if I need to. Now I've just got to shape those tops now, so I'll put them on the tractor and just see how they need to be shaped, mark them out and go and do them in the plasma. I'll put it on the tractor, mark where the crease in the sides of the quick attach on the tractor end goes, across this line here. It was mainly there so I could get the points where I wanted to chamfer these corners in, so that helps guide it into the right spot as you come along to put the bucket on. It's a good idea, I think, but it remains to be seen how well it'll work in practice, which is why I don't want to put plans up until I've actually finished and tried things, and then I can tell you what works and what doesn't. I'll go along and I'll just knock them off with the plasma, the worst of it, and I'll come back and grind them nice and smooth, and then we can have a look and see how they fit on the tractor. And after that, they'll be ready to put onto the bucket. Okay, well, I've got the quick attach parts for the bucket finished. They're a little bit different from plans. Basically, I had thicker material, so I cut some lightning holes in it. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. Dimensions were a little bit out, so it just doesn't quite line up. But I'm going to live with it. That's the idea of them. You come in with the tractor, you hook this under there, and then that should just fall down into that spot. Got to drill a hole in them yet. You come and put a pin in the back of it, and that holds it on. Got both sides of that done. Got to drill them next and weld these heavy pins into it, and then I can weld them onto the bucket and all done. Now we've got to drill some holes for these 5mm Lynch pins. They're going to go through this pin vertically from the top, of course, just to hold the bucket on there. Now I think the 5mm Lynch pins will be fine. I've used 5mm for holding the main ram pins in. So I'll just drill these holes next, get them right. Once these are right, then it'll be safe for me to go ahead and weld these pins in. I can grind that off and then see about welding the whole lot onto the bucket. And that will finish the bucket build. Okay, well there's a lesson that might save someone else some trouble. I went to put this into the drill press to drill it, and I found that with that welded in there, I couldn't fit it into the drill press. So I had to cut the tacks and take it out. I'll drill it and then I'll put it all back together again. Which, when you really stop and think about it, is probably what I should have done in the first place. Anyway, on with the job. Alright, I've got these pins in here now for the quick attach. And I had to remake them. I cut a couple yesterday out of some scraps that I found in the old man's scrap box, which I may have mentioned. Anyway, I don't know what the hell this scrap is, but I broke the drill drilling through it. Got another drill and tried to drill this one, it wouldn't even scratch it. As you can see, it cut really crooked when I cut it with a bandsaw. It was just the hardest stuff. I think it must be tool steel, and it work hardens because it is a shocker. So anyway, I had to cut some mild steel or some stuff that I knew what sort of steel it was, and remake them. So I'm back to the point now where I'm about to weld them. And because they're holding the bucket on, I'm going to weld them with some 7018 rod. It's 2.5mm, so they can get down in the gap that I've left there. And looking at that, I'm a bit sorry that I didn't leave more of a gap, but nevertheless, we'll do what we can. I'm running it right up on the high end of the recommended amp range, up on 100 amps for these rods. And I think I said the 2.5mm. I don't think I said that that is 3/32 of an inch. But anyway, let's see how we go welding these in. And it's pretty ugly and it's going to need a lot of grinding because that's got to be fairly flat. But I think I got down in the groove enough to get good bite into that. Alright, now to grind them flat, might take them outside and do them outside. I've got them all welded up now. They are effectively finished. And if I was doing a pallet fork, for instance, I'd just weld a couple of bars across there and mount the forks on them. But I'm not, I'm doing a bucket, so now I've got to manhandle this heavy bucket over into position and then lower the arms so I can line it all up, make sure she's all nice and centered, and tack it in place. Yeah, it is heavy. He's centered to within 1mm. That's near enough. I'm going to tack him in place now, and I'll just keep using that 7018 2.5 that I had in there for the other job. I just want a couple of tacks in him so I can move him around, make sure he's right. A couple of decent tacks, but they've got to hold the weight of him. Okay, now start the tractor again and lift that bucket up in the air. See how he sits, see how he wobbles. Alright, I need some clamps to help me with this. I think that's got him pulled into position now. I'll go ahead and I'll put some wells around him, get these things on. I'll have a bit of a shot at these with the 70-24 rods again, because they drop a fair bit of weld in there and I've got a bit of a gap to fill up in places. So I'm thinking that they might be a good solution. Going back up around the 140 mark. I just have to be careful I don't burn through that 4mm. I've got a fair gap to fill up in both sides of this because this top here is bowed a little bit. I might try jacking him up in the middle, see if I can take some of that out. As it turned out, the jack just wasn't up to the task of straightening the bucket. The bucket is just too well welded together and far too strong to be adjusted. I'm sure the bucket's still going to work and it's going to get plenty bent with use. Alright, now I've got to get in and tack the bottom so he doesn't spring back out. As much as I'd like to, I can't weld him while he's up there. I'm going to have to get him down. Down and off. Let's see how that works. Trying out the quick attach. Okay, I'm just going to go around now and weld up all around these quick attach fittings, make them secure on the bucket. So I won't worry about doing that on camera. I'll take some pictures of it after I'm finished, show where I've welded. Well, you can see it with the bucket on. I have tested it. The bucket goes on and off exactly as I expected, so I'm really happy with that outcome. There's a little bit of warpage in it. When I welded, I had these holes in here. Well, I forgot to take a picture of it before I painted it, but you can see where the welds are. I welded every single centimetre around the edges, both inside and out. The only thing I had to be careful of was that this is rather thick metal for the brackets, and it's only a 4mm plate for the bucket, so just had to be careful not to burn through the bucket, but that wasn't too hard. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. In the next episode, we'll be running the tractor through its paces and testing the front end loader, and I'll have a bit of a discussion about how the build went and things that I might have done differently next time. In the meantime, if you'd like to see more of my projects, you can go to my channel or browse to my website. Don't forget to click like, comment and subscribe for more. Until next time.